I really believe that if you start with Java and if you get your mind very clear on what are the basics of programming, afterwards it's very easy for you to go through anything.
The best abstraction sometimes is a copy-paste. Like, don't create stupid abstractions before they don't necessitate to become an abstraction in the first place.
If you don't have the skills and you are trying to use AI just to make the impression that you are a good specialist, this is not working nowadays.
As people, we're a bit slower than AI, and we have to reason about whether that's a good solution or not.
Maybe the idea that we won't need developers is some kind of a fantasy.
Typically, you want to automate anything that feels easy to you, but you need to get to the point where you understand what you want to do.
In some cases, it is easier just to start from scratch instead of trying to fix something that might be fundamentally done, the wrong way.
You live in a world where things develop so rapidly that you don't want to be left behind in a way.
I'm not already interested in your certifications. I'm more interested in what you've been doing these years.
The only time we as humans learn is when we suffer.
Just stick to your reason and move on, and it will get better.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of VUnstaged. With yet another special guest. I only keep inviting special guests, so without too much further ado, I will let her introduce herself. So if you can tell us your name, what do you do for a living, and of course I ask everyone who's joining the show, how did you get into tech, as everyone has a unique, interesting story.
Hello. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad I'm on the list for this podcast. I'm Corina Țîlea. I'm co-founder at Ucosoft. And lately, it is somehow difficult for me to describe what am I doing. Because I'm doing a lot of things, a lot of different things. But if to talk about two main directions, I have the educational part where at Ucosoft we do education in IT, like Java training, professional training.
Yeah.
And on the other side, we do Java software development. So it's everything very much tight on Java ecosystems. But these two fields, even if education and software development feel to be different, actually these are very cohesive because we kind of train the specialists, then we create the teams where we develop certain products.
So you train them and then you hire them, some of them?
Yeah, exactly. The best of them.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, because I had obviously a lot of questions when it comes to that. And like, what's your story? How did you get into tech? Especially like given, because there's like a lot of, we'll get into that of course, but there's like, typically you see a lot of guys when it comes to like software engineering and whatnot. So what's your story behind it?
I guess that's not a very traditional story. How I started to get into IT, it was at the Lyceum. While I was starting the 11th grade, I was wondering what to do next with my life. I knew by then that I was good at biology, I was good at math, but what to choose for a career? I thought in my head that something with medicine is not for me.
Yeah, I agree.
Not perfect for my kind of temperament. And then I was kind of thinking about IT because I had a relative, actually a man, working in United States by then as Java developer. So I was feeling that Java development is something cool, but unknowing what is that.
Yeah.
So by 11th grade, I made a decision to take courses at Ucosoft, that was by then already a company founded by Yuri Koropchano. And I basically came to the course. It was a Java professional training from zero. I did not need any special training before them. And I started to learn Java from scratch, lesson by lesson, one by one. And my objective was to determine, is this something for me? Is it suitable to choose it for a career or not? It was like a test. And after first months, that of course had been difficult for me, I felt that it's interesting. I had that feeling that I like doing this. I was staying up until late hours, trying to solve, trying to understand some concepts, things like that. And by that time, I already knew that, okay, this is interesting for me, so I want to pursue this path. I did the courses 1 year. It was like Java Standard Edition, then Java Enterprise Edition, some projects. And in the end, while I was entering the 12th grade at school, I was very in searching for an opportunity where I could develop my skills. So I basically came to Yuria Koropchanu saying, now that I graduated the course, maybe you have some tasks for me.
Yeah.
I don't need to get paid. I don't need anything like this. I just need someone to give me tasks, create an environment for me where I can learn, develop, and not lose what I already acquired until this time. And he looked like this. Okay, I guess we can find something. So after a while, there came some websites that we had to develop, and slow by slow, I took some tasks, then bigger tasks, and this is how it started. So by 12th grade, I was kind of working part-time. Then I followed the university. Through the university years, I was already a Java developer junior. And by the time when I graduated, I had 5 years of experience. I developed several informational systems. Like one interesting fact is that among the university years, we developed at UCOSoft, we developed a full information system for another private university here in Moldova. And basically that was my thesis project. Like at thesis, I presented how I elaborated a software for a university. And by software, we mean a full process from the admission until the moment where you give the diploma to the person, to the student, like everything, the catalog,
So the
the
whole
marks,
back office for the university.
Exactly, yeah. It
Interesting.
wasn't done, of course, only by me. I was like the main developer, then kind of a team lead, and I had help from other team members, everyone at certain phases.
That's pretty impressive, because I remember like the 12th grade for me was like, I think in the 11th grade I started reading HTML and whatnot, because we were still doing Pascal, but I still went and did the, what is it called, the humanistic profile and shit. And obviously you don't study as much math, as much information technology and whatnot. So you did it way sooner than I thought you would.
Yeah, that's why I said that.
Because typically
it's not a traditional path.
Yeah, people make their mind at high school, and that's the 12th grade, because some kind of, not depression, but more like desperation kicks in, and you're like, okay, oh shit, I need to actually pick up something in life. And then at that time people decide they go in medicine or they go into whatever field, but you already made up your mind and you had years of experience before you even joined university.
Exactly. That was the thing. I did not want to take any career path just for the fact that my parents were, I don't know, suggesting, or my classmates saying that I am going to economics, do you want to go with me, or stuff like that.
Did your parents incline you towards any direction?
No, not really. They just supported me when I said that I want to follow the Java courses. And this is actually a longer story, because how I got into the courses is that my mother, by the time when she was 40, she decided to make a career switch. And she switched from interior designer to Java development.
Oh, really?
She followed the courses 1 year ago, and then me seeing the path, seeing that it's possible to get it from zero and get
that makes it actually
to be a Java developer. Yeah, I saw this path, so I just said, okay, I will try it, see if it's suitable for me.
That definitely makes it easier, because it's not like the tradition, or the traditional case where you have parents which are doing whatever, like construction and whatnot, and then you have the kid who's like, I want to do websites and whatnot, and they're like, leave that shitty websites, because you're still gonna work in construction and whatever. And then you end up getting a job, making big money towards, or according to them. And then they start to kind of realize and recognize, okay, this is something which the new generation can do, and it's actually something that works. But if you take I believe we're the same generation. If you take our generation, a lot of the kids were kind of discouraged, like, you should go, I don't know, medicine, or try to be a lawyer, or try to be something.
Did you pass for this?
Did I go through this phase? In my case, it's like a unique case because I didn't exactly grow up in like standard household where you have like a father and a mother. So in that sense, but still, like I grew up with like foster parents, and still there was this discouragement. Like you try to do something which is out of the box, right? You're automatically going to be marginalized and told, hey, you're trying to do something risky. Maybe it's a good idea to go and stick to whatever works or whatever used to work.
Something traditional, something normal.
Yeah. So it's like I would say it's a side effect of the post-Soviet mentality where you have to stick to whatever's safe and not fall from within the line. Try to keep it straight and try to not get outside. Otherwise, you risk not having a career. You risk it's the misconception which you have in society, I would say.
Maybe, and also driven by the uncertainty, because when you don't know something, you fear that something. So
when
just
you have
them not knowing about IT and details behind
when
the
you have
domain.
parents which have survived war, have survived a lot of like unstable situations of life, obviously they'll try to protect you of that, but in their way of being protective, they might restrict some opportunities. And at the time, internet was not that big of a deal, right? You still had like stupid HTML pages. Nothing was beautiful, nothing was modern, nothing felt snappy. Everything was just like the initials and the beginning of the web, and then it evolved into what we have nowadays, right? So at the time, it was a bit of a risky move to say, I want to be like a software engineer. And what the hell is a software engineer? Like we didn't even have the term software engineer back in the day.
Programmer. I think everyone was calling that programmer.
Yeah. Before we dive into the nitty gritty, into details and whatnot, because we do have, at least according to the script, we have quite a few things planned, but I'd never follow it. So before I do that, or before we do that, it kind of smells like wine in the air. So I want to introduce today's wine. So we have Purcari, Merlot from Purcari, and we have Fitească Neagră from, what is it called? Asconi. So I hope you do enjoy the wine. For those who want to try, you can give it a try. But I'd prefer we taste the wine before we dive into details.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this one is Asconi, right?
Yeah, this one's Asconi. I do hope you enjoy it.
Fitească Neagră.
Yes, that's the one. It smells quite strong. So yeah, I'm never following the tradition to like shake it, smell it. I'm just diving into it.
It's good. Yeah.
You'll tell me after that, after the show in private.
Okay. No, actually, I like our Moldavian type of wines, especially ones that are growing only here in Moldova. It's something that I guess it's good to be able to tell about this, because it's something unique for Moldova. Everyone does Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, but Fitească Neagră or Rară Neagră. They
say the bigger the bottle, the better the wine. So I do hope that's the case.
Actually, I did not pay attention that the bottle is bigger. Yeah.
Typically, when you try to buy wine, like you go and try to buy some wine, like they all have like a standard, like it's 750 milliliters. So they all have the same volume, but you'll notice the difference in the bottle size. And the branding and everything else like that. And I've noticed that, and I've also been told by like somebody who's doing wine tasting and whatnot that this is actually the case. So I do hope it's not too bad. But what do I know about wines? Back to Java though. I was wondering what in particular made you choose Java? Was it because that was the popular choice at the time? Your mother went through the same transition, sort of, or like do you question the choice? Do you sometimes go, maybe I want to study something else? Maybe there's some, because I think C++ was also like an option at the time. Yeah, but now you have so many options. You have like Go, Rust, Kotlin, what else? Zig. Like you have so many of them, and they're all quite good, performant, and whatnot.
I think that nowadays Java is still a good decision, and it was back then, because it was already a very popular programming language. And I was mostly looking that this programming language is very like popular in United States, where I'm saying that family relative was working in United States as a Java developer. So me seeing that he was involved in several projects, he started in Moldova, then moved to Romania, then got to United States, and Java was still a thing here and there. I thought that okay, then Java would be something good to learn, and it was also the fact that somehow Java chose me because I did not care that much at that point what am I start to learning. I just knew that I'm going to Ucosoft and Yuria Koropchanu will teach me whatever.
How did you get to know the guy?
Actually, my mother, when she went
Oh,
through,
I see.
through
So she went
courses,
there and she
yeah,
suggested you.
but she just like searched in Google Java development courses because she knew from our relative that Java development is something good to follow. So she started with Java development. That's why I like said, okay, I'll go Java developer, and I trusted 100% that Yuria Koropchanu will teach me everything I need to become a good specialist, because he already had several cases when he taught people and got employed in top companies here in Moldova, and not only. So this is it wasn't a question for me at that time. It was just a path that somehow arranged in front of me, and I just took that path.
Yeah, I even like talked to some people, and like the justification for them why they chose Java over anything else is they like that's what they said to me at least at the time, is they said if I choose Java today and I master it, then there's a high chance that in the next 10 years probably it will not disappear and I'll have like a good enough job security in that sense.
And that is still something valid
And
nowadays.
and I was wondering, given the multitude of very good languages which come up on the scene, each performing better than ever before, close to C performance, you could even say. The question and the rationale is, especially also given the whole AI boom and whatnot, is Java the same, like viewed as the same stable option, or like companies start to transition towards other technologies? As a result, the demand is decreasing?
In my opinion, yes, Java is still something relevant and stable, and a good option if you are starting to learn something that will serve you for years. Just because even today, considering that we have a lot of languages, as you said, with different, I don't know, custom things to each of them, Java is still the option that you go when you want to create a huge system, like something big, something enterprise, something that will last for years. It's not for when you do maybe a MVP, something very short, something very quick, some microservices, but when you actually architecture a software that you plan on working on that through the years, and that you like feel that it will go 5-10 years from
What
now,
is
Java is still something that is chosen.
what is something big? Like, how would you define something big versus like a small MVP?
If we talk about big projects like, I don't know, startups that are starting like now but are aiming to go like years from now, take for example anything, Netflix, it uses Java on the backend side a lot. Google is still using Java a lot. Like all the platforms that are big platforms today, they are using Java for their core services. Of course, they are coupling other languages for different services when you need speed, when you need parallelism, when you need, I don't know, specific things. But the foundation for these big projects is still Java, just because it's stable, it's extensible, it's very secure, it has a very good backward compatibility, and all these advantages somehow is still, in my point, supporting Java to be a good decision when you choose to create a software. Like, for example, when we developed that university management system, Java was the best option for that, considering that yes, we are starting slowly because we did that module by module, like admission, then contracts, then human resources. It was evolving, but from the beginning we knew that this will be a huge system, this will be used for years, this will be in charge for a lot of data, a lot of personal data, so we need security, we need stability, we need extensibility, and so on and so forth.
But what's stopping, like, let's say let's say we take any statically typed language. Let's say we immediately discard the idea that a dynamically typed language is a good enough language to maintain a long-term
Mhm.
system, a future-proof system, if you will. Although that's not the case anymore. Let's say we take only statically typed languages. What's to say that you can't build a big enough system? Although, of course, that depends how you define big enough, uh, which can't use, I don't know, C, Go, Rust, or any other language? Is it more so that the language doesn't allow you to scale to that big system, or it's more so that you kind of rely on people? Like the job market has not evolved to the point where you can afford people easily, whereas Java, you have like a huge community of people and you can easily hire, replace people, and whatnot.
The market could be a thing, but I don't think that's the main reason. The main reason is most for me the environment that Java created around itself. It has a lot of patterns, a lot of like frameworks that somehow help you create these very big systems, very big applications, and you have a certain certainty that the teams working on this project will have a very good environment to develop something that will be easier to maintain support in the future. Like you can do a task in whatever language, but not in all the languages you have this good of Spring, Hibernate. Everything in Java is very very like well arranged, and you have a very clear set of like how to call this legacy components that you are using in large systems. These are very well supported. You have this, as I said, the backward compatibility. So you have a very high dose of certainty that starting by this, having the Java environment, you are safe. You know that all the developers will follow a specific path, just considering that somehow the environment is shaping how you do the things, and you will not do like things that okay, I can just go crazy about an idea and implement that in any way. I don't care how it will be maintained. In Java there are some rules. As you know, Java is very rule based. There is everything, you
Yeah, I
know.
was I was about to make a joke. Like the joke sounded something like, you have a problem and you chose to solve it using Java. Now you have a problem factory.
Yeah.
Like my experience with it, at least since the university days, was it's a fun language. Not gonna lie, I love all the flexibility that it gives you, but it's just so damn verbose and complex for no reason. Like you want to print something, you have to make a class, import a package, call the method, and everything's a method, of course. Uh, and I'm like, okay, and you kind of get used to this kind of complexity over time. Because I went PHP, I went JavaScript, I tried a few things.
Mhm.
Let me just put it this way. You try C++, you try this and that, and you like come to a conclusion where you want a decent amount of abstraction and flexibility. At the same time, you don't want to be stuck in you need to build an entire house before you, I don't know, add like a small thing within the house. You just want to craft things, you want to prototype things, and I guess it makes sense what you say, that if you want to like do things long term, Java will kind of bite you in the ass, and you'll not be able to iterate as fast. Like there's a particular reason why people don't pick Java for startups, because you can't do it as fast, because it's a bit slow in the sense of things have to be done by the book in a certain rule, a certain order,
Yeah.
follow clean code, follow OOP principles, follow all of this stuff, which can get in the way. Like the problem I would say with like developers is you have all these rules which are nothing but a deck of cards, and then you have the business, which wants, okay, when is it done, right? And sometimes it's hard to kind of mix the two, to have a good enough let's say stable environment which you can trust your peers to follow the same way, but as well have decent enough flexibility to be able to iterate fast. And yeah, that was my problem with Java at the time. But I do respect the language. I love, like, oh, there's a lot of good stuff in Java, right? Like I love a lot of tech, open source especially relies a lot on Java. So I was just curious, have you ever maybe fented with the idea because I'm pretty sure you have at least thought once or twice of, do I want to do Java or is there something better? Because there's always something better on the scene, right?
Mm, yeah, there is always. You can always find something better depending from the point of view that you are looking towards. But maybe that comes also to the type of person that I am. I usually like to go in deep in something, even from the years of university. I was learning everything that they were telling me to learn at that time, but considering that, I still preferred to keep going into Java and all this environment just because I wanted to be not maybe good or average good in everything, but I wanted to be sure that I'm good, I'm very good in something. So this is also compatible to my personality, maybe. That's the thing that I chose Java. And considering this, I did not mm, followed the idea of oh, look, here is another language, maybe switch to this, maybe switch to that. I was very focused on what I wanted to do, and I did not see that learning every hyped language that was there at certain moments would somehow help me to get to my life objectives. Like, I
Yeah.
was going slow by slow on my path, knowing that if I continue do that, in some years I will have extensive experience in Java, uncomparable to maybe other persons that are just switching from everyone. And of course, everything, like at a very small rate, but you maybe don't know the details in depth compared.
But how
So
do you
I
know?
preferred that.
How do you know you're not lagging behind? Let's say, do you at least follow what's coming up on the scene?
You, in terms of languages?
Either languages or technologies or whatever, like, because like there's always this FOMO effect, if you know, like the fear of missing out. So like everybody's at some point, as you said, everybody's talking about this, then everybody's talking about that. And you have to be educated enough to choose when is it worth your time to actually spend, and maybe consider, like, people are doing, like, everybody's doing microservices these days, right? I haven't heard the word monolith in a while. And given that aspect, you can like make things so small and tiny and try to like mess around with other languages and whatnot. But you have to, as you said, you have a limited amount of time. If you spend it on everything across the board on a wider array of fields, then you won't get as good when it comes to one field. So like at what point, like, do you ask yourself, is it like, am I lagging behind? Is this still the best option, or is it a good enough option? Like,
I think the question, is this still a good option? In the end comes to your, like, what's the goal?
yeah.
What's the goal you're asking this question for? I don't have a very traditional path, and I was not like seeking interviews, jumping from companies to companies. I was not in the position that, what should I learn in order to get a job or other job. I am more seeing Java from the perspective of business, maybe side, where this is a very good, stable programming language that helps me get into something.
Yeah.
I am still a developer this time. I'm doing Java development for in one project, and mostly of my time is also management for other projects. But I did not have this FOMO effect just because I did not have a why. What's my reason to learn something new? Of course, I was looking what is there. What is there something that I should at least watch into, maybe a little bit. At certain point of times, I did some Python just because I needed in a certain project for a small microservice. Or at any time, you can pick anything. Oh, actually, that's a good thing, a good point that I can share. The thing that you know Java and you are dealing with this ecosystem, it somehow helps you to get into other programming languages very easy. Like,
Inevitably, yeah.
yeah.
It's similar.
So when I needed some Python, or if tomorrow I need something else, it takes me some days to go through, see, okay, what's the ecosystem, what should I do? On the other side, I saw developers, for example, Python developers working in Python for, I don't know, 5 years. And when they wanted to switch to Java, like the change was huge for them. It was like really tough. You need a longer period of time to get adjusted, to say, okay, these are the rules, this is the environment. Like you are not so certain in doing things.
I can confirm that with myself because I switched from, I believe, JavaScript to Go. And I wasn't accustomed to the idea that everything needs a type. Like you need to define what you want from life before you interact with it. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And then like I'm doing this for 5 years. I'm going back to like JavaScript and I start defining types almost immediately. And I'm like, why am I doing this? This is not the rule here. You don't do things that way. Yeah, it's definitely the case that it helps you transition, and even if the syntax is different, it's still the same rules, the same programming everywhere across the board, you could say.
That's also a reason why I still lean towards having Java as the first programming language that is taught to anyone, even before C, even before C++. If we will have some time to go through this, we have also a project where we help schools to start teaching Java in schools, gymnasium level, starting from
That's really cool, actually.
7th grade, just because I really believe that if you start with Java and if you get your mind very clear on what are the basics of programming, afterwards it's very easy for you to go through anything, compared to the hype that is like nowadays with just start learning some JavaScript and you'll do I don't know what, start learning some Python. And yeah, of course, it's very easy to set up everything, to start. You're writing some lines of code, you see immediately some result, but you are somehow missing these base programming understanding fundamentals that you actually would need to be able to develop further in Java.
What's the reason they still teach Pascal in school? Is it because that's what the teachers know and the teachers don't want to kind of jump out of the comfort zone?
Yeah, that is definitely
Is there
one
like pushback from the, let's call it, educational system management?
Yeah, of course. That's one of the main reasons. The teachers, because they teach what they know, what they can teach at this phase. Also, that the curricula that they are based on is having Pascal. However, the last years, the books for Lyceum are like split. I don't know if you saw. It has on one page the program in Pascal, and at the same page, on a half, it has the program written in C.
I know the C thing. I like to take my high school particular case. Like we used to do Pascal, but I know at some point we started like the teacher was like this is like old school shit and this is the new shit. Like this is what you're gonna study at university, so you better get good at it now.
Maybe
so we were doing some
on the
C.
teacher.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, there are some teachers that like to jump a little bit outside the box. And he was giving us hints like you go solve problems on this website, and obviously all of them were like trying to promote C or C++. And you get a little bit accustomed to this is what you're going to study at university if you try to pursue university, and you kind of get familiar. But I wasn't aware that like books, you're saying books now have two-sided pages and one of them is C?
Yeah, it's
that's
Pascal
really cool,
versus C. So it basically gives the opportunity to the teacher choose what the teacher wants to teach to their students. And following this, actually, this was the reason why we started this project with Java development for children in schools. It's called Java Fun Programming, Fun Java Programming, something like that.
Yeah.
In Romanian, it sounds kind of better. It's programare Java distractivă. It's a little bit entertaining more than fun. And we started that just because we considered that Pascal is not something entertaining enough for students. Like everyone,
blue screen.
Yeah, that blue screen is not in a way, in any way, it isn't giving you the idea what will be an IT career like. It was like, learning something, you don't know why, you don't understand how is this, I don't know, how is this with IT? Like, what is the
a lot of people,
common?
I think a lot of people get scared and intimidated by, because like every single time I meet a non-IT person, you know what they ask me when I tell them that I'm a programmer or I'm a software engineer? They say, "Oh, you write code, right?" That's how they see us, like a bunch of geeks who write code. But in essence, you're solving a problem, right? The problem with the educational system is they don't tell you that you're being taught how to solve problems. They just give you like, write this program, or this, there's like this variable. Like they start with like the technology right away,
And
and that's what intimidates people.
even if they would tell you why is this for, having Pascal is not very interesting. Like it isn't in any way entertaining you, making you want to learn this. Also, when it comes to C is a better option, of course, but it's still, in my opinion, too complicated for children's at that phase when they don't understand, most of them, anything, and they are looking at informatics like, what is this, what am I learning, why am I learning this, and stuff like that. And on the side of this subject that we created, Java programming for the children's, is something that starts teaching you programming, but in a different way. Like, as you said, given the problem, like given the fact that we want to do a small desktop application with a button, that you press the button, something is being drawn or something happens in that application, let's learn now variables just because we need to store data somewhere.
Yeah.
Or let's learn methods just because you need actions. And we are trying to like implement this fact that you are not learning for the sake of learning. You are learning, as you said, to actually solve a problem. This is the task. And we see that this is more entertaining for
like
students.
Speaking of like entertaining and getting your hands dirty with actual tangible stuff, I think I had the same experience because I did start with Pascal, obviously, and then kind of transitioned to PHP. And it's still like back-end logic. Like you're writing functions, you're not doing like a lot of visual stuff. And I think a lot of people nowadays are visual.
Yeah.
Meaning if they don't see how this actually impacts the real world, they will not understand what they're doing. Like, yeah, you're on the, like in general, let's say you're implementing, I don't know, I don't know, a calorie calculator or whatever. Let's say it's a practical application for somebody. But if you start with the backend side, you start like implementing functions, classes, methods, and whatnot, they'll get lost in details.
Yeah.
And it happened the same to me. I started with like PHP, then I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the problem I'm solving? And then I got back to the web. I started doing web pages so that then I get to the...
It's visual, it's clear.
Yeah, so that I get to the conclusion that, okay, this is visual, but it's not doing anything. It doesn't have logic. It doesn't have data storage. Now I understand why I need backend. So I kind of got back to it back then. But if you start with that, then you're not immediately signaling to people like, this is the problem we're trying to solve, and this is why you guys are here. Whereas like you take educational system, there's like curricular, we need to follow, you need to get grades, we need to end the semester, that's it, move on. And yeah, I think that's the problem. And it's really fun to know that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, it actually gets better because in the last year, we instructed like 120 teachers from Moldova. We did lessons with teachers, teaching them how to teach Java fun programming in their schools according to our curricula and according to the book that we created.
Can the teachers choose what they teach?
At informatics, not yet. Maybe that is something that the ministry will consider changing. But all the students have the opportunity to choose one or two optional subjects at school. It is called optional because you have the option to choose between several things. Even when we were at school, we had the option to choose something. It was either, I don't know, education, I don't know what, or stuff like this.
Yeah, but still, when you get to like the final exam, which is like the baccalaureate thing.
No, yeah, you have the curricula. At the back, exactly. you have the curricula. But as an optional course, you can teach the Java programming in school, and students can choose this, not, I don't know, something else, Russian or I don't know.
Yeah, they can choose the forbidden apple, which is funny because it's like on the one hand, I understand that the school, or at least the primary school, the high school even, is not meant to prepare you for like a career, but more like for life. They teach you a broader array of things. But at the same time, what's the next step? Like, you need to be ready to embrace who you will be as a person in life. Like, how do you identify with? How do you gratify yourself with? Maybe you love building games, but you'll never try that because you're studying some boring Pascal or whatever.
At least to get this career orientation, this is something that...
Exactly. And if you don't have, let's say, maybe the teachers are not competent enough to teach that, but let's say some of them are. Let's say you have younger teachers that actually finished university, which got experience, exposure to Java and other systems. And let's say they do want to do that, but then the curricula forces them not to. And they're like, okay, I'm not going to fight the system, right?
But you can still the optional, which is... our idea was that, yes, we can introduce this as an optional course, and maybe having the teachers prepared for Java, it will somehow push the things towards getting Java into the main curricula.
Yeah,
this is
mainstream.
something, of course, that takes a lot of effort. You have to change all the books to get to train all the teachers, but still training 120 teachers out of Moldova, that's huge. And we had teachers of all ages, I guess up until 60 and something years.
The principles translate the same. It's like logic.
And it's extremely easy for the ones knowing already C++.
Yep, definitely.
And as you were saying about this, it helps seeing the result, like this front-end part. Java is also good in terms of you can start without getting into the web part, only with the standard Java Standard Edition. You can create the Java desktop applications easily.
Yeah, that's the good part about Java.
Yeah.
You don't have
and
to...
you learn all these parts together, front-end and back-end, and you get an idea how this thing works, how you...
Yeah, I think that's the good part about Java. You kind of have everything in one thing.
Yeah.
Whereas with the web, it's a bit of a mess, right? You have a bunch of... JavaScript has evolved so much that you can do anything. You can do desktop, mobile. Back in the day, wasn't the case. Back in the day, you had HTML, CSS, which is like the layout, a little bit of a beautifying, and then you had JavaScript, which is the logic for the front end. And then you have the backend, the mysterious backend, which could be any language which existed at the time, which was PHP, Java, C++, what else? C# maybe. I'm not even sure if C# was a thing. Yeah. So that was the choice. But then you have Java, which also says, hey, we can also build UIs. We can also build desktop apps. We can also build things on the web browser.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of it. And it got a lot of adoption because you could do just everything in...
By the end of podcast, I will convert you to Java. Maybe.
I'm open to the idea. I'll say that.
I heard last day something from one girl. She was in 12th grade at school. She was already into IT, learning something, some Python, some JavaScript. And she was telling me that I did not enter Java just because no one told me about Java, but it's the first time when I see someone advocating that much for a programming language. And she was like, why are you trying to convince me in a way? And I was just saying everything that I told you.
I used to be so passionate about, I remember when I just started with JavaScript, I was converting everyone left and right. I was like the evangelical type of person, you know what I mean? But then slowly you kind of think, okay, you know what? I'm just solving a problem. I don't care what I'm using to solve. I'll just pick whatever is best for solving that specific problem.
Exactly. That's an important thing to consider.
And I can almost smell I know a lot of Java developers who converted to Go.
Mm-hmm.
And you can almost immediately tell that they were Java developers by the way they name things, by the way they structure things. I think these two alone are good indicators, because everything has to be a box within a box within a box. Everything has to be a extremely long name so that it's very specific.
But it's very clear.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, it's extremely long and ugly, and it doesn't follow the practice from the current language which they come into, which is supposed to be simple. And you have this principle of simplicity in Go in general, where you have to keep everything simple, dumb, and the best, they even have a saying that the best abstraction sometimes is a copy paste. Don't create stupid abstractions before they don't necessitate to become an abstraction in the first place, which is a good thing. Going back to Java, it kind of relates to Java maybe, but maybe not. I'm not sure. You have software engineers, and with experience they see patterns. They see this matches that pattern, this matches that pattern. and they start to build abstractions. That's why you have design patterns. That's why you have clean code. That's why you have ways to write code in general. So with these abstractions, we've created these guardrails, these ways of doing stuff. My question would be, is that always a good thing, or is it better to sometimes just follow the process first, confront with the problem that you need an abstraction, then build the abstraction, instead of always future proofing stuff, always thinking for the 100 years ahead, and whoever's going to inherit that code, they need to know that this is going to be done this way? Because I see a lot of that happening. I see a lot of that in code reviews. I see a lot of that in like suggestions of how you're supposed to write code. What if this? What if that? What if we're gonna get to that point where we're no longer able to process 10 million records a second? Like, what ifs, and it tends to lead to complicated designs a lot of the times. And my question is, how do you instill, because I'm still like a super advocate of like simplicity and keeping things simple, how do you make sure something is, because you mentioned earlier building complex systems, that's why you choose Java, how do you make sure you have a decent amount of future proofness in the software you write, at the same time it's not so complicated to the point where you're unable to interact with it, you're unable to change it or modify it or whatever?
It is actually all these patterns that are followed by the developers are there to be picked up only or in specific situations when there are premises to do so. Like just because we know the patterns and we have been told that, hey, you should implement some patterns, it is not automatically giving you the idea that you have to do that. Actually, it is our job as developers to analyze what is the context of the problem that we are solving, how big is that problem, and do we actually need a pattern for something, or we just keep things simple? Because keeping things simple is always a good option when it comes to Java, to development, of course. Java, it's on my mind, when
Yeah.
it comes to development. And just picking the pattern just because you want to show that you know the patterns and you are following all the rules is not a good option, because you may end up with a system having a lot of patterns solving very small problems. So it was something I read somewhere at a certain time that if you need one page of documentation to document a very small thing, maybe you just over-engineered things. So it's an important thing to make sure you're not over-engineering by overusing patterns that you know. Just look at the problem and see, do I really need a pattern, or it's just something that I can go on with, maybe some copy paste, or not really copy paste, but don't implement, I don't know, huge things just because you think this will help in a future situation that might arise at a certain time. There is also this saying that don't solve the problems that you hope to have one day. Let's get to the point we have the problems and then we will solve them.
Yeah, don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time, we as developers have this almost syndrome, I would say, where we want to prove the other person that we've implemented something, or we're the one who messed with some kind of technology, or we're the one who introduced this new database or this new framework or this new latest toy which everyone thinks is cool. And patterns, a lot of the times, especially for the newcomers, like when you write code and then you see how other people write code and how beautiful they wrote the code, you can immediately tell, okay, they used this pattern, and maybe it was the case that they had to use the pattern,
Yeah.
and it perfectly aligned for their case. But then you try to see a pattern for every single piece of code you write, and the problem with that is you try to force a pattern where it doesn't have its place, basically.
It doesn't make sense to write the code just in a way to show off how good a developer you are. I think in the end it comes to, let's think about the product, because we are building something. Let's think what the product needs, because just showing off that we know this and that is not a solution. What's our goal? In the end, it comes to the goal that we have. What's my goal? My goal is to develop something. Okay, what is the best path to follow for the product, not for me showing off that how good an engineer I am.
Yeah, I'm just speaking from my own experience. When I was a young guy, who was like, okay, I just learned this. Let me
Let me show
figure
you.
out. Let me figure out in this project I have if this is the case,
Mm.
or I don't even think that was the mindset at the time. At the time, I was like, okay, where do I insert this? Because I want to play with this, and you kind of want to just throw it at any place where it's not even justified to do that, which is funny. Um, you mentioned also the fact that you're doing education, right?
Mhm.
So I want to talk a little bit about education. I was curious, like, how is education doing, uh, given everything that's happening around AI? And yeah, I think we've set a record of around 40 minutes of talking about anything but AI, which I'm happy for. Because
Okay.
typically you try to attend any kind of social event, any kind of, like, you enter any room, people will almost immediately start spitting out the word AI, and I'm glad we didn't do that. But still, we're living a revolution, right? Where everyone's talking about AI, everyone's throwing LLMs, models, and all of that can make you feel like you're lagging behind, right? Back to education, though, I was wondering, has this AI boom diminished the need for people to come and study offline? Because you still had like a bunch of, I don't know, boot camps, things like Udemy, Coursera, where people were just enrolling in courses. They completed the courses and they kind of tried to find a job for themselves. The problem with those courses is they have like pet projects most of the times. So I'm wondering if AI has in any way disrupted what you're doing as a tutor, as a teacher.
Yeah, you told about boot camps and offline. By offline, I guess you mean the live activities, things that happen when a tutor is there,
Yeah, like
trainer,
when you have a
and the
teacher
students.
who's like, this is how we do things, blah, blah, blah.
Because
And
you can do this offline, but you can do this online, but in the same way, live online and
oh,
offline.
I see
Yeah,
what you meant. No, I meant more like, let's put it,
compared to self-study courses,
traditional,
I
yeah,
guess.
traditional learning or teaching, where you have a person basically lecturing and tutoring people,
Mhm.
versus you have a video course which was filmed, recorded, and the only support you get from the teacher is maybe Q&A. Like, you post a question and they might answer the question in a week or two or whatever.
I can, of course, tell from our experience. Nowadays, we are doing courses online and offline, but most of the courses are live, like the trainer and the students. Depending on the age, we have a different type of training. Like if we talk about students, like gymnasium or lyceum level, there is a live training happening. Like you have the trainer and students at the same time in an online room talking about a subject. And if we talk about adults that are seeking a professional career in development, for example, there is kind of a different type of teaching where they are learning out of materials that we prepared, arranged, and so on. But then they have the tutoring that happens once a week, or depending how it goes with the study process, when they come and ask questions like, look here, I got a problem, how can I solve this problem, how can I get over something. And where I want to get with this is that the difference between when you do some Udemy courses where you are alone by yourself with some materials, compared to when you have someone guiding you, helping you getting out of troubles that you encounter. Like this is the main advantage of doing live courses and live support, because I've
But what
seen.
if the person is, let's say, shy and they are afraid of asking questions too often? Or maybe, and like, I guess what I was trying to point out is, typically when you have this live, it's not scalable enough, in the sense that you can't possibly babysit every single one
Mhm.
of your students, because they have different levels. They catch up things at different rates, at
Mhm.
different speeds. Maybe some of them understand immediately, most of them don't understand anything, or some of them don't understand at all, and you need to spend a lot more extra time. So at this rate, you have different levels, and you have to teach the same curricula to a range of people which has different levels of understanding, of grasping the concepts. So I was wondering if, in that sense, like how do you know? Do you just hope everyone who's attending has a question and everyone else who doesn't have a question meaning they understood everything, or like how does it work?
It's not that you hope they don't have questions. It's more that along the process, everyone has tasks.
Yeah.
Like every lesson ends with a task that you kind of have as a homework that you have to do. This task you're doing and you're in a way presenting to the trainer, sending the task. And then you're also developing a product while you are learning. So even if you are shy and you don't want to ask questions, the trainer would be the one like getting to you and saying, okay, what are you doing? Where did you get with the product? Let's see, you encountered some errors. Okay, let me see how I can help you. Meanwhile, the ones that are more advanced, they can use the time just to ask questions. Okay, how can I do this more complex? Like everyone can learn in their rhythm. Like some of them can do complex stuff, some students can do simpler tasks, but having the trainer live with you is something that in a way guarantees that you will have you will go through the process and you will advance with what you are learning. Because if you are just getting an online course, you are starting, you encountering problems, you look through GPT or anything like that for solutions, you see something, you don't understand anything, how comes that that solution is the one that you need, and you just close the thing and say, okay, this is not for me. It might be for you, but maybe you just need some help to go through these phases that are a little bit difficult
But
at the beginning.
do you always help them on any demand, or do you just sometimes let them bang their head over the wall?
It
Because
depends.
like it can be dangerous if you help them every single time, because then they get
Yeah.
used to the idea of there's always one savior who's gonna take me out of any shit situation, and I'm just going to rely on them. And then the course finishes, and then they have to go out in the real world
Mhm.
where they have problems which they have no answer to, and nobody else has an answer for that, and you kind of figure out yourself. And and I would say this feeling of getting stuck and not having an answer, and you search the web and you don't have an answer, you
Or
a
you
lot.
have the answers, but you don't understand those
Exactly,
ones.
yeah, like this is a valuable feeling because this is in a way telling you how the reality is. And a lot of the times when working with clients, companies, software, you are in the position where you don't fully understand the requirements, you don't fully understand what they want. Even if you do, you sometimes may inherit projects or code which
Mhm.
wasn't written by you, and you have to understand how things were done, why they were done that way. It's I think it prepares you for the real world. And when you have somebody who's always safeguarding you from the reality, you might step aside and meet the reality a bit different.
Yeah, actually, that's the reason why the courses that we are doing for the like we call adults, like the ones that are seeking the job, getting a job in IT. The study format is different. Like they are having the materials. You go lesson by lesson. You see the video lesson. You write the code because the lesson is most of the time. Let's do this task
Mhm.
at this lesson. To do this task, we are learning several things, but then you're actually writing the code the entire lesson. You do that, you see the code. If you have errors, you compare with the code that is already there on the platform. If you are doing then the homework and you encounter some problems, you are trying to deal with that by yourself. But then if you are not ready to do that, or you can get to the solution, you are requesting a live session. Let's see what's the problem, how can I get through. And the course that we are doing currently for Java developer, it is called Java Developer Professional. Like it's a full course, 1 year of very intense studies. It is getting you in the position that you cannot finalize the course if you don't acquire this problem solving capacity, because the course is very complex. It starts by little things like variables, methods, data types, so on, but it gets until Java Enterprise Edition Spring Hibernate. And if you get to that point, it means you learned a lot of things and you were able to overcome whatever difficulty it arose. And also, you developed certain products at each module that, in a way, confirms that you understood the lesson and you really know how to apply that into developing a product. So basically, we don't have students finalizing the program that are in the position that I can get a job. They are so well prepared for a job that in most of the cases they are not finalizing the entire path, and they are saying, sorry, but I won't manage to do the final project just because I went into some internship or just because I got already employed or stuff like that. It depends on the process that you have.
Is that the case? Like, because you mentioned that you have students, and obviously the purpose of the course is to get you a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how easy it is to get a job? Like, let's say from 100% of students, what's the percentage of the students that actually get a job?
As I was saying, from the students that get to the end of the course, the percentage is like around 100. Like, we don't have a single student that passed the entire path and they said, sorry, but I can get a job. What did I learn? There are situations when some people start learning, and by the first module they feel like, this is too demanding for me, or I don't have the time to dedicate, because, as I said, it's at least 1 year of very intense training. Like, you have to learn a lot of things. We are joking in a way and showing them, books like one by one. Basically, in this year, you are learning this. You are not reading actually the book because you are learning through the course. But the amount of things that you have to learn now in order to get employed is huge. So it's either that they, in a way, see that they don't want to do development just because it's not for them, or that they switch to maybe testing, manual testing at certain times. Like some years ago, it was a thing, or automation QA. But then the ones that get through the entire course, there is not a single person that went through and said, I can't get employed.
Yeah, but given the huge amount of layoffs that has happened in the last years, the amount of senior software engineers that are looking for jobs, how do the, let's say, students that just graduated a course compare to them? And is it like, how's the job market, or what's the experience that they describe to you? Is it easy to get a job? Because you mentioned they need to know a lot before they even get hired, and essentially they're competing with the people that already have been in the industry. Like, is there a new skill set which you must know in order to compete with people that have been laid off, or people that are also looking for a job? Because like the number of jobs, I would say, either has decreased or is somewhat the same, but the demand for those jobs is getting higher and higher because people either get laid off or there's more students entering the market. So effectively, you're stealing the job from somebody else. So like, what's the job market in that sense looking like?
In the last year, maybe 1 year or 2 years, the entry level for juniors changed. It's huge. Now the entry point, you have to know a lot of things to get actually employed. If 5 years ago it was enough that you just knew something, you played a little bit with programming, you had some, I don't know, small demo project, you got into an internship, they were helping you get through, I don't know, technologies that they needed, and they then hired you. This was something easy back then, but now you really need to be not a junior, but we call it like more a junior to middle level. Like, you have to have experience in developing something that is comparable to what that company that you are seeking to get employed at is actually working with. So now you cannot just learn anything and go to an interview, say, I know something, I don't know if you need this, but this is what I know and I want to apply for a job. It's actually changed the way in which we should look for the jobs. We should be more planned, looking at what company needs and trying to align what we know to what are those needs. And then on top of this, we have to also master using AI nowadays. But you can't do that if you are not a well-trained professional, like if you have the skills. if you don't have the skills and you are trying to use AI just to make the impression that you are a good specialist, this is not working nowadays. So it's really harder now to get employed. You need to be well more prepared, not a junior, more towards a middle. And then companies might prefer you even compared to some seniors that are in a way more not that cost efficient, let's say, so for the company. And they might prefer you for the thing that you are not average junior, you are very strong junior, actually almost middle. You already are playing well enough with AI and you are more cost efficient for them, and they see that you have the capacity to I don't know, maybe learn quickly new things and adapt, and you will be like a good investment for them.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important thing to consider nowadays. And juniors shouldn't go blindly into interviews just knowing something and saying that, okay, don't you want to hire me?
Yeah, it's brutal, I would say, because like if you were a junior back in the day, you could take advantage of internships.
Mhm.
There were internship. I'm not even sure if they're doing internship nowadays because a lot of companies frozen their hiring basically.
Yeah, a lot of them, but there are still internships. But even though they are getting to the internships, the ones that are well prepared, like
Yeah, because they can basically gamble and say, okay, look, there's this many candidates we have, way more than we had back in the day. At the same time, you have automation, you have agentic AI, a lot of stuff is being replaced, or you could say, like a lot of people say that AI, agentic AI, thinks like a junior, does things like a junior, sort of. So then the question is, why do we need a junior?
exactly.
So
That's why you don't have to be a junior,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, and at that point, companies expect either seniors to output a lot more work because they're more efficient technically, and then they're like, okay, why do we need juniors when we can have somebody build an automated pipeline or system of agents which can do some of the work, and then we'll have seniors correct the work, and then we get the same benefit but without actually hiring those juniors effectively. So yeah, in that sense, I would say I definitely agree that the bar has been raised
Yeah,
so very high, and you not only have to be a junior but an exceptional one to even
exactly.
stand out, right? Yeah, I'm wondering if, like, your opinion, since we started like opening this Pandora box of AI thing, your opinion on AI, like, are we yet at the point where you could say like some people effectively will either lose their job or be replaced altogether because AI has gotten so good and we've gotten so slow, inefficient to some extent? Like, what's your opinion on the development of AI? Are you bullish on AI? Are you bearish, meaning maybe it will just be the same but a little bit better, it will not go to AGI? Or because a lot of people, especially if you open LinkedIn, you're just scared to see it because everyone's talking how everyone is going to lose their job, how you will be obsolete in 1 or 2 years, how nobody's going to write code. And like, you see all that and you're like, okay, if I'm a senior and I'm kind of getting scared, I don't know what the junior is doing.
Maybe the idea that we won't need developers is some kind of a fantasy, because we still will need developers to be there to control everything that AI is in a way automating and generating code. And I think we already have cases when companies just made layoffs. Then, in some months, they retained back the developers just because everything went wrong, very
Yeah,
wrong.
but some of them did it in a smart way because, like, as you said about like the cost efficiency, like they laid them off,
Mhm.
then they hired either some of them back or
The
different
best
ones,
ones.
but at a way lower cost because of the, like, you
Mm,
fire them, you hire them back, but with on different
I
terms.
also know the backward situation when they laid off, then they invited back the person
If it's
in.
the same person, then yes, they have the
Yeah,
leverage
yeah.
technically. Yeah,
And they made up a better option later on.
yeah. I mean, I'm a very, let's say, realistic. I don't want to say pessimistic because I'm a user of a bunch of AI tools myself. I love it. It's really nice. It really gets you far ahead. and you can do stuff which you haven't been able to do years before that. But at the same time, when I see all of this stupid hype, almost, I'm gonna say that it's a bit annoying to see that like there's a lot of misinformation on this topic, and at the same time, I'm wondering, like, do your students use AI? Do you allow to use AI? And as a result of that, do you think like us using AI promotes better, let's say, the improvement of our critical thinking skills and problem solving skills, or it does the opposite? It makes us dumber, and it makes us, how do I say it, more replaceable, actually, because effectively you become more mechanical in the process. You're just copy pasting stuff and completely relying and trusting the AI to do everything.
If to talk about first students, I observed that, of course, you cannot not let them use the AI. You should let them use AI. But overusing the AI at learning phase is actually not helping you. It is more distracting you, just because you start having the feeling that you know, that you understood, but then it comes that you realize that if you turn off the AI and if ChatGPT is not there, what can you solve only by yourself? So AI is a good thing, but for the students that are still learning, this is a good thing to get at the phase when you already know. You already know how to write the code, how to create an application, how to do the things. And then when you are kind of a professional, you can use AI to just help you do faster the things that you already know how to do. Because if you rely on AI and you just go generate the code, how you can then determine, is that good? Is that code good enough? Is this suitable for the project that I'm working with or not? Like, there are many things to be questioned, and in order to have this critical thinking, you need to have a lot of preparation in this software development as a professional, not only as a person knowing how to, I don't know, prompt to AI and get the code. If to talk about students, then you said about this critical thinking. What I observed while working with AI, because of course we are all of them, I guess, all of us, I guess, are starting to use AI in our development process for certain things.
Yeah.
Usually you outsource to AI things that comes very easy, that you just don't want to, I don't know, write that code that you know by heart, but you don't want to waste the time writing that. But even though I observed that it takes me twice an effort, or I don't know, three times the effort to check that code. Because if the code is written by myself, it's very easy for me to review it. I already know everything. I have the logic in my mind. I have the reasons why did I choose to go this path or the other. If the code is generated by AI, it kind of looks fine. If you're looking to that, yeah, it looks good. But then it takes me effort to enter into the details and to observe small things that maybe my mind is, just blurring, and you're say, okay, that is not a thing to consider. But looking at this like for the second time, I see, okay, yeah, that is not good. I don't like how this thing is done, so I have to change it. So basically, while using AI, I guess we should remain very focused on checking things, on reviewing, and very critical about that code that is being written. Even if AI knows everything and can write you any code, you are the one that has to compare the code to see the product, and is that code optimal for the product, the context. Usually the AI is missing a lot of context, so the solution that it is proposing might not fit into the problem that you are actually trying to solve. So in a way, I guess it will push us to be more critical while looking at that code, and this is a thing that we should stick to, and we should remain very focused on doing that. Otherwise, even we as developers might lose the control on the systems, and you may end up one day saying, what's this code doing? Why is this there? Who did generate or write that code? So actually, yes, you are using AI to generate the code, but it's your responsibility as a developer to check the code, to make sure that code is okay. And like, you have the ownership. AI is generating, but you cannot outsource, the AI generated. Don't ask myself. No.
Yeah.
You have to
I mean,
say.
I ask a lot of people, especially like I tend to ask this opinion of like both developers as well as managers. So on the one hand, developers will say, but look, if you have this extreme agentic mode future where you have the AI writing the code, AI reviewing the code, AI reviewing that the AI which reviewed the code actually reviewed the code properly, and then it runs the code itself, tests the code. Then you always need to validate whether this is the case or not. Does it really matter if the code uses the best practices and everything else like that? Because it's still going to be generated by AI. So why should I care about best practices anyway? On the other hand, you have managers, and if you ask them, do you care that your employees understand what they do before they actually do it when using AI? They will say yes, of course, because we don't want them to push bullshit and security issues and whatnot. And of course, we want them to understand. But then when you ask them, but do you care more about when they know concepts, when they know what's the best practices around doing stuff, over delivering features and delivering what the business wants? They will prioritize the other one. And it comes a little bit in conflict. On the one hand, you have people that say, try to use AI as much as possible because we want things done fast now, yesterday preferably. On the other hand, you want them to also understand everything and be aware of everything, which, like, things take time, right? As people, we're a bit slower than AI, and we have to reason about whether that's a good solution or not. And for that, we need to understand the concepts which were used behind that. And yeah, I guess I'm of the same opinion as you. I tend to believe that like you need to, like, of course, outsource routine. It's boring. You don't want to waste time, and it's less efficient if you do it yourself. At the same time, if it's something which you have to, let's say, as you said, it may not lack context. Like if you take agentic mode, for example, you have these incredibly good agents, and they have like some of them have huge context windows, meaning they can just grasp your entire project in one go. It will eat a lot of tokens, but that's a whole different issue. So let's say they're good enough. Still, I would say the ultimate decision of whether that goes in production should be yours as an engineer. And
of course,
and ultimately the decision, or the consequence of a fuck up, is ultimately yours as well. And yeah, when you're going to start bleeding money for the business, then not the AI will be responsible for that, but then you'll be. But at the same time, to what extent you automate things so much where you can say that, look, I don't care about people anymore, I can just replace, everyone's replaceable, right? Like it's a bit of a dilemma in my head.
I guess in a healthy work environment, that shouldn't be a problem even today, because a company understanding that it seeks, I don't know, a development in the following years, and you really care about the product, and you really care about the clients using that, and you want that product be stable, and you don't want to introduce things, problems on the security part of stuff like that, you will give priority not to just automate things, but stick to doing things. Maybe we'll be a little bit slower, but we will do the things right, and we are not in a way exposing us to the fact that we might just lose control one day upon the project. Yes, we might be the first one getting to the line, but if you are getting the first one, but then your product is going crazy, it doesn't make sense for you to be the first one. So in the end, again, if speaking about long-term things that you want to do not only today, not this month, but for years now, it's more on the side that, okay, let's use AI. Of course, let's automate things, but let's not overuse this in a way that we cannot control the things that are happening.
Yeah, I would say you have now an epidemic of non-technical people, project managers, people that are passionate about just putting out some stuff, as you said, quickly validating the product on the market. And then if they manage to succeed and they manage to have some, let's say, customer base, some investors even in some cases, then they can delegate that to the, let's say, specialists, to the experts.
Yeah.
And you have like products that were built with low code or no code solutions such as Lovable and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have these products which obviously are not perfect, and then you delegate that to the experts, to the people that know everything. They will of course use AI to improve their life and to make things faster, but effectively you have an epidemic of like a huge pile of projects which were done with AI, and they need fixing by the people that know the matter, that have the expertise in those fields.
Yeah, I don't. Hopefully, I will. And currently, I don't have experience with these kind of situations where you have to fix broken things done by AI or wrong things done by AI. And I guess that actually, in some cases, it is easier just to start from scratch instead of trying to fix something that might be fundamentally done, the wrong way. But if you don't know the things and you are just vibe coding without knowing what's happening there, you won't be aware that
No, I'm
you
aware
done
of
the
I'm aware
things
of such
wrong.
people. They're like, hey, we built this nice thing with Lovable. Are you interested in trying to like improve it,
No.
add this and that, because we don't know how to do it, or
Mhm.
just Lovable is not capable of doing it, or maybe it charges us money. I don't even know how that works because I never used it. I just read about it, looked through it, and I'm like, no, I'm not using that because it feels weird in a sense that
Yeah.
instead of spending my time thinking, trying to solve some problem, right? I'm spending my time babysitting, and I even like tried this with agents, right?
Mhm.
You give your agent access to the file system, access to the network,
Yeah.
access to most of the things which it needs to execute code, and it still struggles to do like a basic thing. I'm like, God damn it! You're just supposed to read the file, read the function, understand the function, and then change one line. It's extremely capable actually of like boilerplating, scaffolding big projects, like according to the best practices and whatnot. But then the problem is again context, right? You try change one small thing, you try to modify one small thing, and you didn't ask it to break a whole other thing, but it did. So you kind of have to tell it to unbreak the thing. But when it unbreaks the thing, it breaks something else, and it's like a whole like chain reaction of bullshit. And I just hate dealing with that. I'm like, why am I spending time doing this?
That's why I'm not supporting this vibe coding. Yeah, you can use that, but then ask engineers to fix that is not the best experience, and I wouldn't be the one fixing that. So, okay.
Have you ever been told? I'm not exactly sure if you have managers or not, but I'm like speaking from the perspective of people that like have a boss, like have a manager, right?
Mhm.
And like sometimes they're told by the manager how especially on the front end side, how they're supposed to solve a problem because they've consulted themselves with like the LLM, and they were told that this problem can be solved this way and it's going to take roughly this much, and now your job is to put pressure on the whatever front end developer to make sure they do it in this much time and they solve the problem. And you're at the point where it feels like you're a monkey. It feels like you're not there to solve a problem, but you're there to execute something which the manager can't.
Mhm.
And it's a shit position to be in, if you ask me. But at the same time, we've gotten to that time where knowledge is accessible to everyone if they choose to use it, to utilize it in that extent. So if you're a manager, you have no clue about Java, you can have an opinion about how something is supposed to be done
Mhm.
just because you have access to ChatGPT, to Cloud Code, and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's a wrong thing to do because, as I was saying previously, yes, enough, AI is a good thing to have, but if you don't have the critical thing, it's not the correct way to come to the developer and say that, I read this. Yes, you read this, but you don't have the context of the entire thing that we are dealing with. I'm lucky enough not to have encountered these kind of situations. Maybe one single situation that I had and was not very pleasant at that time was having some tasks written in a way that AI generated actually the tasks and written in a way that go into this method, declare this thing, like
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
by one.
Very
And I was
explicit.
looking, what am I, a developer or only a monkey doing some, something very basic. And it was only an experiment done at some certain point, but then we did not repeat that experience because it was not good. So consulting with AI, generating things without knowing the context, proposing solutions for when you are not aware of the problem and the technical part of the product is not a good thing to support.
But can you blame those managers? Because when you have all this marketing left and right, when you scroll social media, everyone's telling them that IT services are supposed to cost cheaper, your developers are supposed to know better and more, they're supposed to move faster. Then they're like under the impression, okay, you know what, we can fire them and hire somebody else because we have so many developers looking for jobs. We can tell them what to do, how to do it. And you have this idea that because you have AI, it's enough to have somebody who's going to build the system to automate everything, and then you can tell everyone else what to do. And you don't want to be in the position where you're told what to do, or you're essentially a monkey. Instead, you want to, I guess, be the guy
Creative.
who thinks, who solves an actual problem. Exactly. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird situation, I would say.
Can we blame those people? Not really, but in the end, just connect your critical thinking. Just because you read something, it doesn't mean it's the correct way to go. And if you're not a specialist in certain area, how can you say that it's correct or not? So
Is AI making people dumber, in your opinion?
mm, it is not. I don't think AI is making people dumber, but AI forces you to just be better, to just learn more, to be a better professional, to be more critical towards everything that you see, everything that you read, and not just take things for granted. I guess it depends on the point of view that you are analyzing the situation, but I don't think this is making us dumber, just giving the opportunity to be better.
Have you interacted often with people that, let's say, encourage or support vibe coding?
No.
Okay, then I can't ask you that question because I was wondering, like, if you take vibe coding and compare it to, like, what's the conversation sounding like from their mouth? Because I've had instances where you talk to people that they are really strong advocates of vibe coding, and they really tell you like they can do anything, and it's indeed the case that you can do a lot of things and you can be very productive, you can prototype very easily, you can
Until
just,
what point?
to the point where you need flexibility of changing things. Like uh, I love this idea of AI being like Lego. It's
Mhm.
like Lego pieces, small Lego pieces. I need a Lego piece which is called authentication. I need
Mhm.
another Lego piece which is called, I don't know, creating, storing stuff in the database. I need another Lego piece which does some validation. And then you connect the two to, or the multiple pieces together, and you have a beautiful puzzle which is called your application.
Mhm.
Now, my problem with it is, or let's say I'm grateful that I'm able to build these small individual pieces extremely fast, relatively good quality, right? My problem is when you're trying to change one small thing, you you have a few options, right? The first option, you say, here's the whole puzzle, figure out the solution and give it to me. It messes up quite immediately, I would say. The other part is you can say, okay, this is one piece I built, solve the problem within this context. It might do it, it might not, because it lacks, maybe there's a dependency on this module, which depends on another module. And now you're forced to basically give him two modules, which still might hallucinate. It still might give you like some shit answer, basically. And that's where the critical thinking comes in. That's where you say, okay, I think I know what I need to do, thanks for the suggestion, and I'm just gonna go do it myself. And you wanna, I guess, consult, get like a lead on where you have to look, and then once you find the problem, maybe you want to automate that, or maybe you want to solve it
Yeah.
yourself, depending on how big the problem is. But typically you want to automate anything that feels easy to you, but you need to get to the point where you understand what you want to do.
Of
If you
course.
just say, give me a solution, do deep research, then yeah,
Make
you're
sure it's the best solution.
exactly. Then you're just blindly trusting everything. And to go back to my question is, are we getting dumber, or because you kept saying that it's important we don't forget how, like, what are we doing, how do we, like, to be able to think and whatnot. And my thought was going back to like the industrialization process, when initially we started having like machinery and whatnot. People were afraid of losing their jobs, their basically manual labor jobs, because of the machines. So it's kind of happening the same here. You have developers that push back quite a lot. They say, look, AI is dumb, I don't want to babysit it, and I don't want to waste my time with it. At the same time, you have people who are not even developers that support the idea and they're pushing it extremely hard. And then you also have developers that understand, like, look, this is a tool, it's not perfect, and I'm going to use it to improve my to boost my productivity the best that I can. I think you should be somewhere in the middle.
That's the only way we can go with AI, because you cannot be left behind, and you cannot just go with AI not developing yourself as a specialist, but just keeping you being a very good specialist, using the correct way. The AI is everything that we've got today, and that can, in a way, guarantee us job security in the future.
Is there an AI bubble,
Of
in your
course,
opinion?
yeah. Yes, it is.
In a sense of like financial, because I read the other day, like I think I even read an article or saw a video, don't remember, where they said like especially when it comes to like open AI, they're burning so much money
Mm-hmm.
to the point where like they rely on the idea that at some point they will reach some kind of AGI, some kind of a new GPT model, which the investment for, and again, the investment which they get in are not like cash money. They get, at the moment, I think they get like credits which they can use within Azure, within all these platforms, which is a form of investment, but it's not actual money.
Yeah.
You need still to raise money from investors so that you can pay those, so you can afford to pay for research and development, basically. And at what point you say, look, there's no more money, this project is done, it's going to be bought out by Microsoft or whatever. Like, I'm wondering at what point we stop burning money on these projects, and then we're left with whatever we have, which is the models which we have trained. Or the other, on the counter, you have like big companies who can afford to burn these money. Like what's your opinion of this AI bubble thing?
Now, maybe it depends on the big plans that they have, and we might not be aware
Yeah.
where the product should go in next. We just, as users, we see how the product evolves, what is the public information out there. But I tend to think that these companies investing that much in the development of this product have certain plans with the way it should go in the future that, as I said, we are not aware of. If you have to stop the development again, it comes to the to the thing that why are you doing that? Where do you want to get? I hope they have that why and where. So this, in a way, decides that yes, we should continue going on, and we will get to a point where it all made sense. The effort through the years made sense in order to get there. I think that's also a usual pathway followed by Google when it just started, by some things that started to be small, then developed, and now are huge.
Yeah, but
So
I guess they can afford to burn some money. Like if they dump 100 million in the trash can, nobody's gonna know, and it's not gonna affect them. They still have the cloud services. They still have all the subscriptions, YouTube, and
yeah.
everything that's bringing them a lot of money. So they can
But it's
say,
now, but it wasn't back then when they started. But
yeah,
I guess there had been years of investment, of work, without knowing or being sure that you will get to the point where the company is today. So maybe that's the plan for
yeah. My only fear
open.
is like if this is a bubble, then all the companies that invest billions in the whole data centers, like you have the RAM apocalypse. Like
Mhm.
the RAM is extremely expensive now exactly because of this whole AI boom. Everybody's buying RAM. Like people, or let's say manufacturers, move from like customers who build PCs and whatnot to data centers. Everything is becoming more expensive. They get a lot of funding, and then they don't deliver on the promise. Let's say they don't improve the AI to that point where everyone expects it to be. Then all of the money was essentially burned. were wasted, and then they have a debt which they can't pay back, and then it kind of starts snowballing. And it's just fun and interesting times. I'm bullish on it, but not fully. I'm not sure. Yeah.
If we can change that, we just have to adapt to that and see where it goes.
Yeah, we're just small pawns. We're just users, as you said, right? We, like, as specialists, especially, we can like try to do our best to be valuable to the market, and then you can go from there. But as big companies, I guess it's like we're in a race for who's going to be the leader when it comes to this AI boom. And there's like countries racing for, we even have like US imposing sanctions on China, so they can't import the latest GPU, so they can't advance their GPU training, or the model training based on the latest GPUs available, basically. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, back to the Java thing. You mentioned one interesting thing, and I don't have any of them, and I'm wondering to what extent that's important or not to have. I see this especially in the Java space, and it's quite common to have a certification.
Mhm.
Is that an important thing? Does that play a role when you, let's say, want to get a job, or is it more of a thing of the past?
The certification, first of all, when you are learning something new, is in a way helping you to structure what you've learned. Like you learn, you know a lot of things, but then when you are really preparing for that exam, you are really placing the pieces in your mind, like, oh, you have a lot of oh moments, by passing this process. So it in a way makes sense for you to do that just to become a better engineer. On the other hand, it's good to have a certification for the companies that would want to hire you, but not in a way that it will somehow guarantee you the job, but in a way that if they have 5 candidates to invite to the interview, and out of 5 candidates there are 1 or 2 having a certification, you might be the ones being invited, or the first ones being invited to the interview. So after you get to the interview, the certification does not matter at all. It matters how you show off at that interview, actually. But that certification is your kind of a ticket to get to the interview out of all the people that are in the waiting list.
Even if you're a senior?
For seniors, it's somehow a different discussion, just because seniors are not that maybe into certifications, but into show me what products you've built, where in which, I don't know, projects you've been involved, what were the technologies, or how, I don't know, were the things set up into that environment that you worked with. So with seniors, it's a different discussion. I think that for a senior is not that important nowadays to have that certification, but in order to get to the point where you are a senior and this does not matter, it's somehow good to pass through the thing when you are a junior and you have the certification.
Yeah, because I noticed, like, especially with the wave of layoffs, what I noticed, at least on LinkedIn, is a lot of people started doing certifications. Yeah, and then they boast about it. And I was wondering, was that to be more attractive for the new employer that they were looking for? Because I always have this dilemma in my head. Okay, I'm already on the market for 10 years or so.
Mhm.
I'm like, do I want to go have a certification when it comes to anything that I supposedly know and worked with for this many years? And is it gonna help me in any way, shape, or form? I'm like, I never needed one. Like, do
Mhm.
I care to waste I mean, it's not a waste of time. I still think it's a good test, because you still have to go back and reassess your entire knowledge, and maybe things changed, maybe things were added, removed, and whatnot, and it's a good test. But yeah, I was just wondering, like, especially given like my case, yeah, it makes a lot of sense for juniors, as you said, right?
Yeah,
Because you want to be as attractive as possible and be selected.
exactly. I don't think that when you want to hire a senior, it will matter that much. Do you have a certification? I'm not already interested in your certifications. I'm more interested in what you've been doing these years, because also among seniors, there is the thing that you might be a senior, but you maybe was doing a very repetitive work. Maybe the technologies were something old. You did not keep up with the new things that are in certain languages. So not all the seniors are
Or you have
equal.
or you have the senior based on loyalty.
Yeah.
So you have a person who's worked 10 years in the same exact company and they haven't progressed as much as, let's say, a person who's switched companies every 2 years.
And maybe it is not only about a company, because you can still be in one company, but you can have the environment where you are developing, learning new stuff. So maybe it's more about the product, the environment, the technologies, not the thing that you just switched companies one another.
It also depends what kind of companies you switch.
Yeah, of
So
course.
if we're talking about like product companies, you could like associate a product company with like a technology or an array of technologies, and it's not likely that they will change tomorrow. But if you have like outsourced companies, they have projects, and the projects may take 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. So you could either change the project within the company without leaving the company. Like you have a lot more, let's say, a room for flexibility. So you don't have to necessarily change the company in that sense.
In a way, but also in product companies, there are product companies that are acquiring new technologies, developing new modules, using some different things. So even in product companies, you can have the space of learning new stuff. It is not necessary just to jump from one product to another. Again, it's about either you learn a lot of things or you're keeping one thing, but you get very deep into that. And yes, doing something new, but still going deep in one thing.
Yeah. I guess you don't have to be easily bored to be able to do that. Yeah, you live in a world where things develop so rapidly that you don't want to be left behind in a way. And you're like, okay, am I being left behind or is it just hype? You have to be able to recognize hype nowadays, especially with all the hype around AI. Everything is a hype like I'm reading something, I'm like, is this for real or is this person just trying to get some attention for me to click on that article to read his bullshit? And you have to be able to like justify where you want to spend your attention next, because there's so many things, so many technologies, they all kind of solve the same problem. Do you want to, is it worth spending the time, or do I want to just keep on doing what I'm doing and becoming better?
Exactly.
Yeah.
For me, it comes again to the thing that why am I doing something? Why am I learning something? What's my goal? Where want I go with this? Like, if this helps me on my pathway, okay. If not, then what's the point?
Yeah, that's a good point actually. How do you see people learning in the future? Is it the same way, or do we get to do things like, how do you see software development in general in the future? Is it the same way we do it nowadays, or is it gonna change?
Let's time frame the future. Are we
Let's
talking
say
about
5 to
what?
10 years.
5 to 10 years. I have to connect my imagination. Just looking at what happens now, it will be more and more AI. Development might be less writing code, but more verifying the code, more inventing or validating some architectural decisions on the products, and less really writing the code. But again, in order to validate the code, you really should know how that code works,
You need to be able
how
to
to write.
get to the position where you
Yeah.
can say this is good enough architecture or
Yes.
not. Yeah.
That's what I see from now, that it will be automated. Maybe we will have less developers, but the ones will be exceptional. So they will be the ones handling that AI in a way that it will be very productive for the companies, for the projects, and this is how we will go.
Is it important for people that want to spend their, let's say, their life, their like like a huge chunk of our lives is spent towards our careers, our jobs? So so part of that, I'm wondering, especially given the fact you're kind of teaching the next generation of engineers, is it enough for them to just know the technicalities, the technical skills, or is the market nowadays demanding of new skills, of you being more well-rounded maybe being focused more on, I don't know, different kinds of skills like soft skills, communication, and whatnot?
The soft skills are even now a very important thing that help you. Like if you have 5 developers, the one that will be, evolving more in a company, getting more attention, being more promoted are the ones having the soft skills more developed, like being able to communicate, to interact with the business, with the managers, with the colleagues, even have this ownership feeling for the code you're writing. In my understanding, it is also more of a soft skill, like you are not interested only in writing that code, but you are really like the owner of the code, and you want to in a way do that code so that it helps the company, being involved in at that level. So our soft skills are very important. We should pay attention to teach the students, and we are doing that, how to communicate within a company, how to talk about a project, a problem that arises, how to search for solutions, and then how to communicate maybe to your team that we have a problem and this is the solution. Let's see, is my solution the best one, or maybe we can get together and discuss about that. So this is more and more important, especially with the AI having its place in the development. We as human keeping this critical thinking and the soft skills that are in a way difficult to be replaced by AI and will differentiate us.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was also like, it's funny how it works, since we're like, ever since we go to school, we're basically taught to be individualistic.
Mhm.
Like, don't copy from somebody else, do not cooperate, solve your own problems by yourself. So every step of the way, from like elementary school, high school, university, you're kind of individualistic. And then you get into an environment of people called a company, where you have to kind of collaborate. And 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 in that sense, I see a lot of engineers especially struggling to do that. Or like, there's this notion of toxic engineer, right? Where you have people that either prefer to work alone, or don't want to be disturbed, or don't want to necessarily be a good team player. uh, or maybe that's how they're used to. And like, I see a lot of managers at least complaining about that, wondering to what extent is that the like contribution of the way we're educated, and should we change anything in the education. Yes, we want them to learn, we want them to be competent, to be self-sufficient, but also when you build any kind of product, you're not doing it by yourself, you're doing it with a whole bunch of people. And you want to bring your contribution, but at the same time help others grow. So
Exactly.
yeah.
I think this is actually changing because even in schools now and universities, there is this concept of implementing team projects,
Yeah.
like I don't know, some the semester project or things like that, where you want students work together, solve problems as a team, and it is in a way more towards the idea of teaching you how to develop these soft skills and team being able to work in a team compared to what it was maybe, I don't know, back 10 years ago, or things like that.
That's a good initiative to be. I mean, I think I still am of the opinion that the educational system still has a lot of catching up to do, because like, I remember, at least my case, I do hope everything is changing, and I really love to see that for the future generation,
Mhm.
so that we are able to enjoy a new generation of kids who benefit from the mistakes which we were part of, so to say. But yeah, generally speaking, we're moving very fast, and things are catching up quite slow, speaking of education and everything else like that.
Yeah, at the same time, I think that making changes in education is really difficult. It is really costly. You need people, you need resources, like in terms materials, books, curricula. It's a lot of things that you have to prepare for if you want to do really big changes in education. So in a way, I'm kind of supporting when I see that there are happening changes. I understand that it takes time, and I see that the trend is positive. We are trying to improve the things in the education, like the Ministry of Education is trying to do that. So I really appreciate that. And I understand that it takes time, and we should be conscious about that, because nothing can just change, in one day. But since the trend is positive, just follow that trend and it will get better.
Yeah. Speaking of that and of trends, you're definitely an example of somebody who's kind of, let's say, went against the stereotypes. So I was wondering, yeah, you're obviously someone who is a woman in tech, and that being said, you don't see. I mean, it's more common nowadays to see women in tech, but I'm wondering if you've ever, in your way, experienced any kind of bias towards this, where you had to, where you thought maybe you're not considered as good because you're a woman, or maybe because there's a lot of stigma, or at least other women say there is. I'm wondering what's your thought on this one. Is your thought that the absolute best person gets the position, either that's a job or that's something else? It's pure meritocracy, or there is some kind of bias among the society, which we call matriarchy or patriarchy, so to say?
Um, I think I was lucky enough not to have these kind of situations. And then the fact that um, my ears maybe did not meet the average, what it is usually happening for a person of that age to have, a certain level of experience. It was like, as I said, when I graduated the university, I had 5 years of experience. That was a huge difference. So maybe that helped me not to be in a position where I was compared to, I don't know, some of my colleagues saying that you are not good, because I was way before them in terms of preparation for the job. Also, I was not going through the process of seeking a job, like at least the usual thing, because I'm working at Ucosoft. I am a co-founder of the company. I am a developer, but the way I got into one project was more through the recommendations. The interview phase was there, but it was different from what is usually happening. So I understand that I might be, in a way, just gone through a very different path. So I did not encounter this.
But do you have students that are women?
Yes,
So
we have. Yeah, and I will talk also about through this point of view. What I saw among our students is one thing: if you are well trained, I did not see a situation where a woman, for example, were very well prepared, came to us and say that, I can't get a job just because I'm a woman. It's, or maybe it's only my experience. Maybe I wasn't exposed to certain situations that, I don't know, some other person went through. But even in any interview, things that I saw with our students, if you are better, you will be chosen. Maybe that was the context, because I'm using this maybe just because I don't want to not validate that the problem might be there, because since we are talking about that, I think there is a problem. There might be persons going through that process, but me not in the position of the person that wants to get hired, not on the position on someone hiring people. I did not go through these situations. Like, for example, when we need to hire a developer, I really don't care about either she is a woman or it's about a man. We are just considering the preparation level, like more this thing, and how the developer is thinking maybe in the way that we do. You should fit into a company when you want to join that company. So we are basically analyzing the soft and hard skills, not the gender. But still, I think that is a problem, and I am not validating that problem. I think it might be there.
yeah, I'm also trying to lean to the same point where I say, look, there might be like there's no fortress without bad, let's say,
Yeah.
trees, or there's no such thing as no bad apples, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, I tend to lean towards meritocracy. So whoever's the best is going
Yeah.
to be is going to get that position, right? Whether that's a woman or whether that's a man. But I guess what I was trying to ask is not exactly whether you get hired or not as a woman, because that would obviously mean like a bad reputation for the company who refused to hire based on that premise. A lot of the times discussions revolve around a pay gap, right?
Mhm.
That you can't say I'm hiring both a man and a woman, but women might complain that, look, I had a private discussion with my colleagues, which were men, and they've confirmed they have a higher salary than I did. And my question to you is there, like, first of all, how often you even discuss that with the students? Because I guess, do you like teach them how to even negotiate? Because it's one thing to get a job, it's another thing to know, for them to know how much they're worth on the market. And if that's the case, then if they end up having that private discussion with their colleague, do they end up thinking like, look, I was mistreated because I was a woman, or maybe I didn't do a good enough job of I don't know, selling myself enough, of trying to prove myself that I'm worth that much, of I don't know, people complain about the same inequality when they're doing promotions and stuff, things like that. Like it's not even about whether you want to hire a woman or not. A lot of the times it's a positive, like they hired a woman.
Mhm.
The problem, or where people complain, is they have this gap where they say that a woman works like what is it, 2 months more than a man a year, because of
Mhm.
the like the 20 cents on the dollar thing. And I'm personally of the opinion that like we're not comparing apples to apples, but I'm wondering what's your opinion, whether you had students who confessed or complained about that and whatnot.
Among our students, again, there was not a single woman coming to us saying that, I gone through these situations. So again, I did not know about these kind of situations. So maybe I just wasn't exposed to this. But I don't know any single person coming to me and say that I am as good as he, but I am paid less. Why should I? What? Why, as a company, would anyone do this? In like, what's the point? Why would you want not to give a woman what she?
Some people say patriarchy, like you want men controlling things and whatnot.
I'm not judging things in this way, so it's
Yeah,
hard for me to really understand what would be the logic. But since there is the discussion and there are certain metrics that, in a way, statistics showing this data, I cannot discard that thing happening. But again, I usually see that people, at least in our company and with the companies that we are working with, people are judged only by what can you do, how many years of experience you have, what's the level of ownership you have, and that's what determines the payment that you get.
right, right.
It's just, again, what I've seen, what I've gone through, and it doesn't mean that the thing is not,
I
it might be
do,
there.
I do very much hope that no women will jump on you and like tear you into pieces in the comments. I really
No,
hope that's the case.
I'm saying that I'm not discarding that, and I cannot really talk about situations that I do not know, but I definitely allow the idea to exist that there might be this gap.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, if you're exceptional, there's no such thing as
Yeah,
like you can just achieve anything given opportunities are equal. And
exactly.
that's what I also believe in. Like I think we're not even between men and women, but in general as people, I think we have the same, or like when you talk about equality, you have the equality of opportunity, but nobody guarantees you the equality of you manifesting on that opportunity.
Yeah.
Like you might both get the opportunity to participate at getting a job. However, it's not guaranteed that you out of, I don't know, 50 candidates will get the job, because there might be somebody out there better for whatever reason, whether that's better financially or better skilled. I don't know, depending on what the company thinks is better for them, I guess.
And in an ideal situation, people should be judged only but what can you do for us? Like, how can you help us? Are you the best person we can get into the project? Then come in, no matter what's your gender.
Yeah.
Of course,
Sounds-
it's idealistic to think in this way, but I don't think it makes sense to make it another way.
Yeah, that's a very healthy way of putting it, I'd say. I'm wondering whether, because it's been a while since you've been on the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wondering,
13 years.
yeah, that's quite a while.
Yeah.
Wondering if you've changed your mind, let's say in relation to software development over the years, you really thought something is like you changed your mind about certain topics where you thought something is supposed to be done this way. Some time passes, you mature, and then you think something else of the same exact concept. You have such a reminiscence of.
Nothing that comes to my mind. Let's maybe give some more details.
So, like, when it comes to myself, for example, I used to think that, like, for instance, trends like frameworks, right?
Mhm.
I used to think like every single new thing that comes out must be immediately implemented, right? And then time passes and you're like, okay, am I in the pursuit of building software that's stable, or am I in the pursuit of what's the new hottest thing? Or another thing, the same principle with like the simplicity concept, which I used to like go back to, like, do I want to write software which is fancy and reads very well? It's like a one liner or whatever. Or do I care that when I wake up after 5 to 6 months and I read the exact same software, I don't ask what the fuck is going on and who wrote this and get blame and find out it's myself, but instead I immediately understand what's going on, like things like that. And I, like, every single time, and that's why I love about Go, actually. Like, it doesn't promote this cleverness. There's not even a ternary operator there. Like, you're not allowed to be clever, which promotes or even forces, you could say, simplicity by definition, which doesn't allow you to be clever. So you not being clever today allows you to be saner and have less gray hair tomorrow when you read the same exact code, or somebody else does maybe. And this concept really stuck in my head, and over time I understood, okay, I don't care as much how the code reads and how elegant and fancy it looks now. If I'm able to immediately pick it up in 3 months, it's good value. And I think it's better value than if I am able to write it in one line instead of 5 lines. So yeah, it's a concept which stuck with me for years, I'd say.
I cannot recall right now those kind of things. Maybe again, just because I was not following trends and stuff like that. I was not just trying to learn new things because, I don't know, because it's there. I was more focused on what I want to do today, what I want to do tomorrow, what's my goal, where do I want to get with some things.
You
And
follow everything by the
when
book.
maybe not by the book, but by the, I need to have a purpose for everything I do. And just doing things without a purpose is not my style. And then if you have a purpose, maybe it
Let me
mm,
let me ask the question
yeah.
differently. Do you have projects that when you open, you say, you're not that you're not proud of that code, but that you
But
could have done a way better job?
yeah, but yeah, this is kind of a different discussion because, of course, whenever we look through a code that we've written last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you, I guess, if you have the feeling that, oh my God, what is this code? This means that you just evolved as a professional through the years. And now looking today with your at your code that you've written yesterday, you are just more, I don't know, professional in doing your job. And you say, oh, that code is not
Yeah, but
not that good.
the opposite is true. Is what my question was. You might think that what you write tomorrow is better than what you write the day before yesterday.
Mm,
And you come back, like, to give you an example, you start by writing code and duplicating it everywhere.
mhm.
Then you're like, oh shit, this is actually not working. It's not scalable. I
Yeah.
need to abstract things away. You abstract everything away to the point where the abstraction is way too complicated. And you're like, maybe it's a better idea if I go back to copy pasting. And you kind of go back to the concept which you thought is bad, but then you kind of iterate it a little bit and you realize it's not as bad as long as you don't overdo it.
Mm,
So it's like a
it's
concept
about
which you
moderation, maybe.
it's a concept which you recycle back to, and it doesn't immediately make sense unless you've stepped into that exact complexity and you realized, okay, maybe that's not the worst idea.
Yeah, I might agree with you, but also if you keep in mind that you want to be moderate, like keep the moderation in everything that you do, just don't overuse some concepts, and you are evolving, eventually you will consider what you did last year to be not as good as you are doing today. Of course, if you today are very hyped on an idea or a pattern and you are trying to overuse that, in some years it will look like that was bad decisions, or maybe even tomorrow. But if you just make the compromise and go slow, don't do very big changes, but you just evolve as a specialist, eventually you will see that you are doing better day by day. This is my experience. Whenever I look at my code through the last years, I see that now
but are you
I'm
able
doing
to
that
tell,
better.
are you able to compare the first version of your code with the fourth version of your code, or you're only comparing the last with the last? Like, if you like to give it the same example, like you start doing the code one way, then you change it to another way, then you change it to another way, then you end up doing it the same exact way as you did it the first time, slightly improved. And you're like, why the fuck did I went through all of these phases of changes to only go back to the same exact stuff?
Depends.
Yeah.
Maybe at certain points you did not think well enough through the situation and just went with the wave and developed being very enthusiastic about something. Then, oh no, let's go back. But again, if you do things with moderation, it helps in a way, and you just stick to.
I agree. In general, moderation is a good concept to keep in mind, especially in software. Like, don't go crazy about anything. Don't overdo stuff. Just
And prioritize the product.
Is there anything you'd like to do outside work? Because we've been talking quite a lot about work.
There are many things I like doing. I don't have that much time, but
that's a whole different issue. That's a whole. We can talk about it.
What I do besides work is sport. I'm attending gym like on a regular basis for 1 year now, and I am really proud of that.
That's a good one.
Then I discovered some years ago paddle, a kind of a tennis, if you are aware. It has a special racket. It's played on a special court that has glass walls. And then you're playing 2-on-2, like 4 people on the court. You like have a team of 2 people. And it is very similar to tennis, but the racket is different and the speed of the ball is not that big, but then it's very entertaining because of that walls, and you can play with the walls, you play with the people with the walls.
I thought it's the same
nice
thing.
Stuff.
I was like, is it tennis? Like,
no. It's a different one, and this sport is currently developing in Moldova. I see more and more people getting into paddle, and actually now it's very difficult to book a court to go play paddle because it's everything booked in Chisinau.
Even tennis, like if you try to book tennis, it's like, first it's not as cheap, and second you have to pick the right place, I would say, because not all places like function during the winter, for instance.
Yeah.
And it's one of those. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just go to the gym. And it's a bit old school, but it works because you can just go there in the winter, in the summer, every single time.
Two courts for the entire city.
I would imagine
extreme.
It's quite demanded.
Yeah, you have to book that court for 1 week.
Even gyms like are quite, like, we have like even if I like compare like 5 years ago, not a lot of people used to go to the gym because I'm not sure. Maybe we've evolved as like we've transitioned to our productivity towards more towards jobs like the IT industry, for instance. We have people working from offices, and because they stay on a seat
Yeah.
a lot of the time, they're
They feel the need to
they
move.
feel the need exactly to like attend some kind of a gym to do the effort to compensate for their lack of activity. Whereas before that, you had a lot more people working like in construction, and like you take a generation back, gyms weren't a thing. Now gyms are like almost like a cult, you could say, where people just go there to like don't even exercise, just take a few pictures and go back. Yeah.
Depending what you use the gym for.
Yeah, we go back to the same conclusion. Like you need to know your why, right?
Yeah. So what was paddle, gym?
I see you're into wine culture too.
Yeah, I actually want to learn more about this. So I hope I'll make time for myself to go really attend some courses on this. But yeah, I'm interested in the subject, how the wine is produced, how the champagne. I can tell
Yeah.
things about that.
I guess I'm
Besides,
only good at tasting it. Better be new every single time.
that's also an option.
Yeah.
You do you. Besides that, singing is another passion that I have, kind of a hobby. When I was little, I was telling everyone that I will be a singer.
Is it pop? What's your favorite genre?
Kind of a pop, but more on the lyrical side. Like,
Mm.
again, in my style, songs that have a meaning, that have something behind.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of like lyrical songs as well.
So,
Except it's not pop; it's more like hip hop. But the problem with hip hop, you have this stupid genre of hip hop where people are just mumbling stuff and they're just repeating the same exact rhythm. Whereas I like more lyrical, almost machine gun type of lyrical, where you have meaningful songs where people are creative with cadence, with words, with syllables, rhymes, and all that stuff. It's just a craft which not everyone possesses, but at the same time, it's accessible to everyone to do.
yeah.
Yeah, I would assume it's harder to do it in pop because you need to have at least a voice to do that, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here you can just put a beat and like let me make a song, you know. But yeah, huge fan as well.
Yeah, so this is one activity that I am doing in my free time.
How much
Luckily,
free time you got?
Ah.
Already quite plenty of activities.
I'm not doing maybe very often the
Yeah.
activities, but still reading another activity. And
Do you have any recommendations of books besides Java books?
I'm really into self-development books. Like, I feel that even there are many persons considering that it's bullshit, how they call it. You just read that motivational thing and it doesn't help you. Actually, most of the times you are reading things that you might already know, but being very open-minded about that at certain points of your life, you just get the right idea in the right moment, and it can actually help you fix something in your life.
I wouldn't say it's
And
bullshit because like no matter what you do, you still like need to improve yourself to propel yourself to the next stage of life. Whether that's
course,
software engineering you're doing or something else, you still need to have like, especially with this whole AI thing, you need to be well rounded. You need to speak well, to negotiate, to have a certain amount of skills you possess, whether that's you're doing development or you're managing or something else.
holding the emotional intelligence
Exactly, yeah.
and a lot
Like,
of things.
so I wouldn't say it's bullshit. I would say it's you trying to be ahead of your peers, which is what you've been trying to do your entire life.
But I still saw a lot of people, rolling eyes on, that motivational stuff.
I mean, it depends. Like if you take this like these motivational videos or like audiobooks where they try to motivate you and whatnot. For me, it's just easier to just like motivate myself. I guess have speeches with myself where I just look, stop bitching, pick up your shit, go to the gym, right? And just by you like making like I really like this like saying, when you don't know what to do, just make a step forward, right? So there are moments in your life when you don't know what to do, like either you're frustrated or you have like a stressful situation, and at that point you can't rely on motivation to keep you going forward, because not all days will be full of motivations, or
Yeah.
not every single day you will have a book, an audiobook, a music. I mean, music helps a lot. I really find my comfort in music quite a lot. It helps me go through the motion. But what I'm saying is, you need to be okay with suffering sometimes, to just go in like, I just do my duty, right? I don't need no motivation today to just go to the gym and work out and do like my sets and then come back and I'll feel good after that. But
Depending what you define as suffering, because most of the times is not what it is, but how you look at the things.
like
So if you treat as suffering, it might feel you
let's
as
take
suffering.
learning for instance. Like when you learn stuff and it doesn't work, it might feel as if it's suffering.
Might,
And
but
to a
then you
lot of
remember
people,
the goal, and it
yeah,
makes sense.
again, you're seeing it as like here's the end of the tunnel and I want to get to that point, right? But some people want to get to that point, but they get a lot of obstacles, as every one of us. And again, it, as you said, it very much depends on what's your mindset, right?
Mhm.
If you see every obstacle as just another step closer, that's a very good mindset. Unfortunately, not everyone sees things that way, right? And at the same time, the only time we as humans learn is when we suffer. If you have a relationship which failed, that's when you learn the most. If you have a business you created and it failed, that's when you learn the most. Like you don't experience the same amount of learning when everything is going well. That's my point. So going back to the motivation, you sometimes just need to be, you just need to go, you just need to do it, without necessarily being motivated.
With
And then,
discipline,
yeah, exactly.
and that is easier when you know that you're doing something for a reason. So just stick to your reason and move on, and it will get better.
Very well thought out. Yeah, almost it almost feels like you're not making a mistake here. You exactly know what you want to do, what you need to do, like there's no doubt.
We are eventually doing a lot of mistakes, but
Definitely, like having a direction, knowing what to do, what you want to do, and getting there is,
it helps.
it helps, is essential. And yeah, obviously improving yourself is the way to go. Otherwise you stay the same and you get left behind. Yeah. All right, then to bring our discussion maybe to a closing, because I don't want to hold too much of your time, I'm sure you have places to be. I was wondering, and this is the last question I typically ask everyone, I was wondering, what's your final piece of advice for the people watching, whether those are any of your students, whether those are future software engineers, or just people who are curious about what the hell is going on in the software industry?
Mm, the advice would be maybe not to get scared of everything that now happens in IT. Still, IT is an option to consider for a career. Yes, it is harder to get into IT now, but as soon as you are ready to really work hard for that and become a good specialist, IT is a very good opportunity that you could take advantage of. If you want to start with going into IT, first thing that you should start with is a programming language, and of course, my recommendation would be Java.
Of course.
For the reasons
Yeah.
that we mentioned at the beginning. And by starting to learning that, going into that deeply, until the point where you are confident that you are not just a junior that goes blindly into interviews, but you are confident that yes, I know, yes, I can, I have some maybe projects that I developed and I can show you the projects. And then you master also using the AI, and you can say that I am a good Java developer, and I also know how to use AI in order to make my work more efficient. Then that's the ticket that maybe helps you to get to a job in, I don't know, a year from now. So yes, if you want to start, you can start. Be cautious that the road will be long, and you will have to go through this. It will require a lot of hard work, but eventually it makes sense to do this hard work in order to get a good job, an interesting job in a field that you can meet a lot of interesting people, interesting products. You can contribute to the development of very nice products, actually. So yeah, this would be it.
Yeah, I'm subscribing to that. And once again, I'm really happy to have you on the show. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, take it from the best. It's an advice from the best. So you go out there, you try, you do your absolute best. And the ticket, perhaps, for your future job is guaranteed, or at least we believe so.
Yeah.
Corina, it's been my pleasure to have you on. I'm happy to meet you, and yeah, I'm waiting for a V2 whenever you're ready.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. It was my pleasure to attend the podcast. I appreciate that you are doing this podcast. I already viewed some episodes, and I really got interesting ideas, thoughts from the discussions that you were having with the guests. So keep up the good work. Good luck with this, and yeah, we can do a V2 sometime.
Thank you, and wish you the best of luck to you, to your students, and what you're doing. Keep up the good work, and once again, it's been my absolute pleasure to have you on, to discuss with you, to meet you, to see you as a person, as an engineer, and yeah, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was VUnstaged. Keep your mind open and your source unstaged, and of course, I'll see you in the next one.